The icy wind howled through the city streets, rattling broken glass in the gutters. A man in tattered clothes sat on the steps of a high-end restaurant, his coat barely enough to shield him from the cold. His hands were calloused, his face hidden beneath layers of grime and time. A group of young businessmen stepped out of the restaurant, their laughter sharp, cutting through the night air. One of them, a tall man in an expensive suit, sneered. "Spare some change, old man," he mocked, tossing a crumpled dollar bill at the homeless figure's feet. His friends chuckled, shaking their heads. The man didn't move. He simply looked up, his gaze piercing, unsettling. A slow smile curled on his lips. "You shouldn't underestimate people," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. The businessman scoffed. "And why's that?" The homeless man's fingers brushed the dollar bill, but he didn't pick it up. Instead, he looked past them, toward the towering skyline beyond. His next words sent a chill down their spines. "Because some people have more than you could ever imagine. A mysterious fortune and a life in shadows." His words hung in the air as the businessmen walked away, shaking their heads. They didn't know the truth. That man, Nathaniel Cross, wasn't just some homeless drifter. He was worth billions. No one knew because Nathaniel had built his empire in the shadows, hidden behind shell companies and anonymous trusts. Years ago, he had walked away from a life of luxury, vanishing into obscurity for reasons only he understood. And now he was back, watching, waiting. There was something he had to find. Someone he had lost. A hidden connection and a fateful encounter. The next morning, in a towering office overlooking the city, James Caldwell, a real estate mogul, paced his penthouse, his hands shaking. He had spent decades building his empire, crushing anyone who got in his way. But today, something was different. Today, he had received an anonymous letter. Inside was a single line. "You have a son you never knew about. And he's closer than you think." James's heart pounded. He had long buried the memories of his past, the mistakes, the lovers he had abandoned. But this was something else. There was no sender, no clue where it had come from. But something about it felt real. And it terrified him. The clues began to unravel. As James began to dig into his past, strange things started happening. His confidential files had been accessed. Employees whispered when he passed. An old friend called him in the dead of night with a cryptic warning. "He's watching, James. He knows everything." Then, one evening, at a high-profile charity gala, James saw him. Across the ballroom, dressed in a suit that looked strangely familiar, stood the man from the street. The man who had been mocked. The man whose eyes burned with something deeper than anger, something personal. James's blood ran cold. A shocking revelation. The man stepped forward, shaking hands with the city's elite as if he belonged. Because he did. And when he finally stood before James, he smiled. "It's been a long time," he said. "Father." The room spun. 100 gasps filled the air. James staggered back. This couldn't be real. Nathaniel Cross, the mysterious billionaire, the ghost of the past, was his son? The truth that changes everything. But before James could speak, before he could even breathe, Nathaniel leaned in, whispering words that made his world collapse. "You thought you built an empire, but you built it on a lie. And now, I'm here to take back what's mine." A slow, chilling realization settled in. Nathaniel hadn't just come to find his father. He had come to destroy him,